Okay, so you're live on YouTube, and I'm going to mute myself.
Okay.
Right, you are streaming and you are live. As soon as you want to, you can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to our lesson. I hope you have your pen and paper ready. because we are about to start. Remember, you can just be taking notes, and you would ask at the end of the question. It makes this, sorry, at the end of the lesson, it makes this easier to proceed. Okay, so yesterday I realized that there was a bit of a technical glitch, and some of you did not get the if function at the end. So we're just going to go through that in a bit, then we continue with today's lesson. All right, so we're just going to continue with our if, but we'll just have to go back a little bit to what we did yesterday. All right, so I'm just going to switch off my video so that we can concentrate. All right, so in today's lesson, we'll start off with trying to understand what we started yesterday. Then we'll move to what is known as relational operators, as well as different output values. Okay, so like I promised yesterday, we are going to go further with the if function, but let's recap from yesterday. All right, so we say the if function allocates a value to a cell according to the result of a condition, right? And its syntax is as follows: equals if a condition. This is what you said. This is something that can be logically compared. Like if a number is greater than this number, if this number is equals to this number, then this value should be displayed in a cell if the condition is met, the condition that you would have set yourself, right? You'll understand it further when I go into the spreadsheet, right? So the third argument of the if is value false. This is what should be displayed if the condition that you would have set is not met, all right? So just to elaborate further, the condition is any expression that can be true or false, right? Like boy, girl, yes, no, things like that. Then the value that will be placed in the cell if the condition is true, that's our value if true. Then the value that will be placed in the cell if the condition is false. Now, let's, you know how it's like with computer applications. It always makes sense when you actually do it on the on the actual file. All right, so let's go to our file. All right, this is the situation that we have, right? We have a mark there in A2, right? And here in B2, we want to display a message to say whether a person is, it's a pass, the mark represents a pass, or the mark represents a fail, right? So the condition that we're going to set is that if the mark is above 50 or is 50 and above, then the message that should display in B2 is pass. But then if it's not, the message that should display is fail. All right, so we go on and type our if function equals if, that's the name of the function, open bracket. Then the logical test, now the logical test is the first argument of the if function, and we say it is the condition. And in this particular case, our condition is a mark should be above 50 for a person, for it to display a pass, right? So we're going to say if the value in this cell A2 is greater than 50, that's how you write the condition. The way you write the condition is always the same. You have the cell that you want to compare, you have an operator greater than, equals to, less than. We're also going to talk about that during the lesson. And then the value that you want to compare the value in A2 with. In this case, it's what? 50. So our next argument, as you can see there, it's a value if true. This is what we want to display in B2 if the condition, if A2 is greater than 50. So This is the message that we want to display. Pass. You notice I am writing it in quotes. Whenever you're dealing with the if function, just like the sum if that we spoke about yesterday, just like the count if, you have to put quotes around text, right? So then on our value if false, if the condition is not met, we want to display fail, like that. All right. So do you see the message that we get there is fail? Why? Because 48 is less than 50. If you change this value, say 63, automatically this changes to pass. All right. So now let's try another one. We have another situation there. There is a price in E2, right? And we want to display the message cheap or expensive, right? But for us to have that, we need to come up with a condition first. And our condition can be if something is less than 25 Rand in the shop, it's cheap. If it's more than 25 Rand, it's expensive. So our condition in this case is something less than 25. So we're going to go again equals if, open bracket, if E2 is less than 25, right? And I know when it comes to typing the less than, the greater than, the people usually get confused. We're also going to try and decipher that during the lesson. How do you know which sign to use? You know, it's okay. We'll talk about it also in this lesson, right? So in this case, we are saying E2 is less than 25. Somebody is probably asking, why are you not putting the R for the rand currency? Now, remember, Excel has got different number formats: currency, date, number, general, all those things. Now, if you put R there before the 25, it will be recognized as a text string. Remember, a text string is made up of numerical digits and letters of the alphabet or a symbol. So if we are to put R there like that, automatically this is now recognized as R25, as in the cell R25. So we don't put the R, we just type 25 because Excel already knows that we're dealing with currency. All right. So like we said, we want it to display what? Cheap if the condition is met. So we type cheap like that. But then if the condition is not met, we type expensive. All right. So our function is complete. All right. There you have it. It says expensive. Why? Because 52 Rand is greater than 25. If you put 24 there, it now displays cheap. So I hope you're following how this works. All right. Let's do it one more time. Here, right? We want to display the status of a person according to their age. So suppose we say somebody who's over 65 years is now in pension. But if you're under 65, we don't want to display anything. We just want the cell to remain blank, right? So we start again equals if, open bracket, if this value, right, is greater than 65, right? So if the condition is met, we type pensioner. That's our value of true. If the condition is not met, we don't want to type anything. So we just put open and close quotes with nothing in between the quotes. Close bracket, enter, right? You see, nothing displays in J2, but we have our formula, our function readily typed there, isn't it? So we can now copy, right? Yesterday we spoke of autofill, And another good way of autofilling is just coming by the corner there, bottom right-hand corner of the cell. You see this plus black sign. You click, you double click on your mouse. It should autofill quickly for you. That's a handy way of doing things faster. There you have it. 68 years is above 65, so the words pensioner display. All right. So as you can see, the if function is actually deciding for us. All right. So let me just quickly check if there is any question. All right. No questions so far. Any question before I proceed? Anyone with the question quickly? Maybe if there's something that you didn't miss out, you can just give me a quick question. All right, I think so far we are moving. Remember, if you have a question, please just post it there. I'll check it out. All right, so let's move on. All right, so now we move to what we call relational operators. In maths, we usually call them inequality signs, right? So you can use relational operators. There is the greater than, the less than, the greater or equal to, the less or equal to, or the not equal to in simple if functions. These will help you refine the data even more. All right. So what are these operators, right? We've got the greater than, right? Used to determine if one value is larger than the other, right? Then we have the less than. Again, if the value is less than the other. Now, here is something that you can use to try and remember which sign to use, because I've seen this on so many occasions. People get really, really confused on which sign to use, right? What happens is when you're being asked a question, they don't actually tell you which relational operator to use, but there are words that guide you or that point towards which operator to use. If in a question it says if something is more than, right, you would know that it's greater than. If it's then or is less than, for less or equal to in this case, maybe the question will say at least, right? For greater or equal to, the question will say at most, right? Then not equal to, it should just say something else that has got nothing to do with either greater or smaller. All right. So, and again, another thing that you can do, I don't know if it actually works, but it should work. Uh, the sign always sort of like shouts at the greater value, right? Or points, like that, like an elbow, it points at the smaller value. So I will show you just now. All right. So remember we said our if function has got three arguments. That is the condition, the condition, the output values, value true and value false. So let's now look into the condition. Now, the way you type the condition is always in a similar format, right? So don't get it mixed up. And that's what usually happens when somebody is trying to type the condition, right? So the condition is made up of three parts. The first part is the cell address. If you remember from the previous example that we did, we looked at A2, we looked at E2, we looked at J2. This part is not a range. Some people always make a mistake and they put a range. It's just one single address, right? Then the second part of the condition should be the operator, the one that I just spoke about. Then the third part is what you're trying to test, right? In the example, we're testing whether a mark is above 50. And our second example, we're testing whether a price is less than 25. Then we're testing the age, whether it's greater than 65. Okay, right? So those are the relational operators that are there: greater than, less than, greater or equal to, less or equal to, not equal to, and equal to. All right. So like I said, your cell address, your cell address is just A1, B10, not a range, please. And if your operate like your condition doesn't have these three things in a good order, you would have a what? A problem, right? Now, then we have another scenario. The test now can be a cell address, can be a number, can be a text string, can be a formula, or can be another function. All right, let me just check. I see some questions. I'll just pause a minute. All right. Okay, people are just, oh, those are not questions at this particular time. All right. So this is how the condition works. Now let's go and try it on an example. Let's try it on an example. All right. All right, there we have. Suppose this is the data that is available at a weather station, right? When you are answering these questions, always take note of what is in the headings, right? The headings, when questions are asked, they pertain to what is on the headings, right? Like for example, here we want to check whether it's going to rain or there's going to be no rain, right? So in a typical question, you would have a situation whereby uh, if the chance of precipitation is greater than 80%, it's likely to rain, right? So now in your mind, you need to know, where do I get the chances of precipitation? In this case, it's in column C. So we're going to type equals if, open bracket. Remember we said the first part of our logical test is usually a cell address. So in this case, we want to use the percentage chance of precipitation to either decide whether it's going to rain or it's not going to rain. So in this case, our value is in C3, right? Not like this, right? It doesn't work like that. You only have what? One cell, right? So suppose the question says if the chance of precipitation is greater than 80%, then there should be rain, otherwise no rain. So if the chance of precipitation is greater than 80%, then we're going to have rain. But if it's not, we're going to have no rain, like that. So here, because 75 is less than 80, so the chances are there will be no rain today. So if you copy it, you just double click, right? It says no rain, but here it says rain. But by chance, let's say this was 88, it would decide for us that it's going to be rain. All right. Now, we also say that the second part, the third part of the logical test can be a function, right? So suppose we want to say this town, like, or this city, remember these are cities, this city is hot or it's warm, right? Depending on the average temperatures of all these cities, right? So the function will tell us that this city is hot or is warm based on whether the maximum temperature is above the average of all these cities. All right, so here's how we do it. Equals if this value, because we want to compare the temperature, right, is greater than the average of all the temperatures in the city. So now here on the third part of our logical test, we now type the actual function, average, open bracket. Then we want the average of all the temperatures in the cities, close bracket. Now, do you see The first part is the cell address. The second part is the operator. Then the third part, initially it was just a number. Now we are using a function. So we go to our output values, right? And here we have hot. Say if it's greater, we say hot. And then if it's not, we just say warm. All right, so 32 should be above the average for this. So if you copy down, right there we have Cape Town is warm, Durban warm. So that's how you can actually also do it. You can actually put a function there, right? So I need you to take note of that, because in your one of the activities that you're gonna do, that you're gonna download from, I'll give you the links. It has got something like this. All right, so maybe another example. All right, the condition can also have a cell for comparison, two cells for comparing two cells. We have a situation here as soccer teams were playing soccer, and then the games were decided by penalties, so there can only be one winner. So we want to use the if function to decide whether it was a home win or an away win, right? So those are the two output values that we want based on the scores that we have here, right? These are the scores, right? So we're going to go equals if, open bracket, if the score for the home team, right, is greater than the score for the away team, then we should have home win. Like that. But if it's not the case, if it's the other way around, it should be away win. Like that. So there you have it. 2 is greater than 1. So it's a home win, right? So here, if we're to copy down, we should expect away win. There you have it, because 3 is greater than 2. So you can see that in your function there, H3 is greater than I3. So this is another form that you can use on your logical test. Right, let's try it one more time. Remember, we're just focusing on the third part of the order of the condition, right? Again, here we want to put the full gender name for these are, maybe let's say these are zoo animals, right? So we want to put a full gender name. Like for instance, if this is F, we want to have female there, right? Or male, male or female, right? Based on the letter that is displayed there, right? So here an animal can either be male or female. So we're going to say equals if this value here is equal to F. Now, notice the way I type F. It's in quotes. Why? Because F is a alphabetical letter and it has to be surrounded by quotes. And again, especially when you're dealing with alphabetical letters, like in this case, F, you can't say if N3 is greater than F or is less than F, because this is not a numerical value that can be compared like that. So when it comes to text, it's just equals. It's easier like that. All right, so our value is the full one. We want it to be male, sorry, female. But then, of course, you can either be male or female. Well, of course, I always have a good laugh when it comes to this, because now it's debatable. The gender is not strictly male or female. So we just keep it to a simple one, male, right? Like that. All right. So the full name, because there it's F, right? And then here, if you copy down, it's going to say male because this is not female. All right. So that's how here you take note that first we looked at when the third part of the condition is text, and we also looked at here, we looked at the third part if it's another cell, Then here also we looked at if it's a function. All right, so we're just mainly concentrating on the condition. So remember this, the condition has got three parts: the cell address, the operator, and whatever you're trying to test. All right, do I see questions? Let me just check quickly. Say you didn't use the absolute cell reference on other cells. Remember we spoke about it yesterday. We use absolute cell reference when you don't want a cell to change. Don't worry, Jessica, we are going to have a good example just now. So keep it tight. All right, let's move on. Now we want to talk about the output values, right? So output values, our value true and our value false. What uh, format can they take, right? So they can be actually other cell addresses, they can be a number, they can be a text string placed in double quotes like you saw, they can be a formula or a calculation, or they can also be a function. Remember here, we just here in the last example, we had female, male, expensive, cheap, all that was text. So now we want to explore more options. All right, so let's see how that works. All right, all right, all right, all right. We are here. Let's see how it works. Let's just go to another one. All right. Uh, Jessica, you had a question. I think you should pay attention to this, how we use the absolute cell reference. All right, so just pay attention to this one. All right, so here we have a situation, some employee data, right? And these guys worked some overtime, and somebody has to be paid if they work overtime depending on the number of days, right? So here in F2 we have a rate, right, to say if somebody worked overtime, right, the number of days that they worked should be multiplied by the rate here in F2 to get how much they're supposed to be paid, right? And if that's not the case, nothing, no payment. If they didn't work overtime, they shouldn't get payment. All right. I hope you're following. Maybe if I may repeat, if somebody has worked overtime, they should be paid 300 per day. Otherwise, if they didn't, nothing should be paid to them. All right. So now, how do you tell that somebody worked overtime, right? Here on overtime days, it should be more than 0, obviously. All right, so our condition is already complete. As you can see, equals if, open bracket, this value is greater than 0, right? So this means that if that value is greater than 0, that person should be paid overtime based on the amount of days they worked against the rate. Now, our rate is found in what? F2. Jessica, you're paying attention. F2, right? So the number of days that they work is times the number of days that they work there in C3, right? This is now our value of true. Our value of true is a calculation, right? So if somebody worked uh, overtime, then the value should be greater than 0, right? And the calculation will be that F2 multiplied by C3. All right, now we go to our value false. So if the value in C3 is less than 0, it means the person didn't work, so they won't get no money. So we put 0 there. All right, close bracket. All right, so there we have it. Kyle there worked 1 day. So 1 times 300 Rand is 300 Rand. But now, when we now want to copy down, this is the part where Jessica asked about why didn't we use the absolute cell reference. Now, if we copy down, maybe like that, it will say 0, which is not true, because check now what's happening. If you just click on the function, the F3 has got nothing there. It's now multiplying C4, which is the number of days. It's fine, but the F3 has got nothing. We don't want the F3. So for our absolute cell reference now, we go to our function again, Here where it says F2, right? We want to fix it so that it remains as F2 when we copy going downwards. That's where the absolute cell reference comes through, Jessica. So remember, absolute cell referencing is F4 on your keyboard. If you're using a laptop, check to the next to the control button, you press Fn, and then you go and press F4 on your keyboard. All right, so there we have it. Now our F2 is fixed. It will always multiply whatever is in these cells. So if we copy going downwards, all right, so that's how it works now. You see, it now works perfectly. If you check there, it's still multiplying F2 and C3, right? And then this person didn't work overtime, so they don't get any money. And it actually works even if you change zero. No money is supposed to be paid. All right, I see some questions. That's Isabel. Say if we use numbers for either the true or the false output values, we don't have to put inverted commas. Yes, that's precisely what you don't put inverted commas. And if it's also a calculations like this, Isabel, like here or zero there, you don't need to put quotes, whether it's in the logical test or in the output values. As long as it's a number, a date, uh, you don't put inverted commas. All right. Thank you for that question. I hope some weird questions also got the answer. All right. So now let's try it out. Maybe let's just go back to that. No, not this one. Let's just try out something quickly. Where is my all right, yeah. Okay. Let's try this one. Not this one. This is, where's my activity? Okay, yes, there is my activity. All right, so there we have it. Just I'll give you just a few minutes to study the spreadsheet that we have put there, right? So this is like an activity for the matrix that's going to be happening. Okay. So here it says for the current year, matriculants take part in various activities. The activities that a matric can take part in are shown in column E to F, right? Are we together? Column E to F. This is column E to column F, right? So these are the activities. How do you know that somebody is taking part in an activity? You have a 1 there. All right, keep that in mind. Then it goes on to say a discount amount of 10% on the total cost is given to a matriculant who, here it's supposed to be matriculant, sorry, M there, who will take part in the 2 activities, otherwise no discount is given. So have that in mind. If a person has got 2 or more activities, that their total cost will be reduced by 10%. That will be the discount. So in column J, use an if function to calculate discount amount for each matriculant. All right. So here, this is where we try. So can you try to type quickly? If you can try this out, don't worry if you make a mistake, it's fine. Remember in an exam, even if you just type if, you get a mark. We don't really mark on, we don't get a mark to, if you get everything wrong, it's not like you get 0. You get part marks, so to speak. So can we just try this one out? You can type on the chat box there. I'll give you just a few minutes. Ideally, in an exam, this will give you 7 to 10 minutes, but we're always pressed for time for one reason or the other. So I'm just going to give you a quick 2 minutes. Remember that the function is supposed to be in J4, right? In J4, that's where we're going to type the function. I'm sure you're saying, hey, we started with the most difficult one. But we just want to make sure No one has managed to type to give an answer yet. Well, you know what that means, guys. It means that at the end of this lesson, you need to go back. Maybe tomorrow the video will be uploaded. You play it through again, and remember, make use of your textbooks, whatever textbook is available to you. Just go through these things and come back and try these activities until you're more comfortable. All right, I can see people are stuck, but it's fine. Uh, uh, I'll be checking there. But let's just go through this quickly, right? So here is the situation. Uh, Elena is supposed to get a discount if they are going to take part in 3 or more activities, right? So we're going to go equals if, open bracket, right? So we want a function that is going to tell us how many activities are available in this from column E to column H, right? How many functions can do that, right? We can use the sum function to add up all these numbers, right? We can, remember, this is the first part of our logical test. Or we can use actually the count. Remember, there's the count and the counter. The count counts numerical values. The counter counts cells that are not empty. So we can, here, we can use the counter, we can use the count, we can use the sum. All right, so we're going to say equals, maybe let's use count, open bracket. We want it to count from here up to there, right? So this is the first part of our condition of our condition that we spoke about earlier, that it can be a what? It can be a cell, or it can be a function. Like in this case, we're using count. So what this function is going to do is going to count and store a number. So if that number is greater or equal to, this is the second part of our condition, the operator, right? If it's greater or equal to 2, why? Because in the question says if a matriculant who takes part in 2 or more activities, right? I missed out more there. It's in 2 or more activities. So that means 2 should be included in the value should be 2 or more. Hence, we put equal, greater or equal to, right? So now here we're going to have the value of true now, right? A discount amount of 10% on the total cost, right? So here we're trying to calculate the discount amount. So the total cost is found in what? I4, right? There is there in I4 times 10%, because that's the discount amount. This is now our output value for value if true, times 10%, right? Then if the matriculant is not taking part in, it maybe it's taking part in one activity or no activity, so there will be no discount. So we put 0, close bracket. All right, so this means that this learner is going to get 139. As you can see, 139 is 10% of 1,390. If you copy going downwards, you're also going to see something like that. This one doesn't get a discount because it's only taking part in one activity. All right. All right. So as you can see, the if I wouldn't really expect you guys to totally understand it in 40 minutes or in 80 minutes. This is something that requires practice, right? So you really have to look for as many resources as you can, and you need to practice this thing, right? And remember, if you are not ready to make mistakes, you will have a problem. So this is the activities that we're just doing. So when you play back this video, you're going to pause here and try and answer. All right. So here's maybe some work that you can do, especially this online activity. I need people to answer it, because the moment you answer the online activity, it doesn't take time, about 10 minutes, you'll be done. It's a quick questionnaire, more like where you choose multiple choice. Then it will give you feedback on your answers. So it's imperative that you answer this. So let me just try and paste the. Let me just try and paste on the chat. Is this is the our activity is there? All right. Let me try and copy this. And I'll just place it in the chat. Online activity. All right. So there is the online activity. Then for the practical activity, this is the question paper. All right, question paper. Right, for those that are having a challenge, you can actually go to the YouTube channel and search for CAT grade 11. You'll find the lessons that we've done so far. All right, so that's the question paper, and then the data file that you're going to work on. I'm just going to paste it also there. Data file. All right, so that's the question paper and the data file, and then you can also go to remember, you can go to YouTube. You search under Africa Teen Geeks. You search for Africa Teen Geeks on YouTube. You can see various videos, and you can also look at other subjects, not just CAT. There is plenty, physics, English there. All right, so in our next lesson, we're going to talk about charts, right? So, I think I know maybe probably you wanted more on the if, but remember, guys, our time is limited. Please go and practice. But then tomorrow we will look at the softer side of Microsoft Excel. Charts are very interesting and quite easy, and in exams they carry lots of marks, right? And remember to follow us on social media, right? There is my email address there if you want to contact me. You've got questions perhaps, and there on Twitter, you can follow us at Africa Teen Geeks. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow, guys. I hope you have a lovely evening. Okay.